Hello everyone, this is Luxury PL38. Today's video is one of the most requested video from my followers because of the highly anticipated and popular bags for the 21K collections, which is the Caviar mini square that comes with an adjustable strap. And obviously because of the caviar nature of this mini square, it is so popular that it has been sold out nearly everywhere. So I did receive a few requests asking me about the differences between the classic and the seasonal 21K. So today's video I would like to talk about the major differences that is very obvious. And as far as I know, there are 10 differences that I picked them up. And if you do pick up any other differences, you can always comment it on the sections below. So let's get into the actual comparison. And this is the 18S Caviar Classic Mini Flap in the mini square, obviously. And this is one of the last few collection that Chanel releases in the caviar, because since then Chanel does not releases caviar for their mini square and mini rectangular timeless classic style. So because of that reason, it is highly sought after, and Chanel decided to come up with the 21K collections 3 years later, which is the mini square, and this is the mini square 21K that was out last month. It is in caviar, and by the look of it, it is also in the iridescent, and there are 4 colors, and it also comes with an adjustable strap. So Chanel makes it a little bit different with the classic, that it stands out on itself. However, there are a few questions that arises. Will this moving forward, will it still be released in the future collections in a caviar, or will Chanel makes this a pretty much a seasonal one time only? So we don't know for sure, but by the look of it, because it is so popular, Chanel might actually releases this in the future collections. However, I don't really see it appearing in lambskin because of the structure of this, and let me explain to you later on. And let's get into the major differences. Again, like I say, I point out 10 differences. As you can see, the size, the length itself, this is longer. However, this is thicker. See that? That's thicker, the classic. So that is one major differences. And if you look on the double CC, the seasonal piece, is actually larger, the double CC hardware. I'm just going to point out to you this one over here. If you look at it closely, this is larger on the seasonal piece, which is very common for seasonal piece to have a larger double CC. And also the leather itself, if you look at it, it's a little bit squishy, although it is in caviar, but if you gently push it, it is a little bit squishy, whereas the classic mini, it's a little bit sturdier and puffy. The quilting is a little bit puffy as opposed to this. I suppose because it is on a bigger quilting size, if you look at it carefully, this one is a bigger quilting. There are 4 big quilting, and whereas this one, there are 5. Because of the fact that this is on a larger quilting, there are a few creases here. And also, if you open it up, you can see noticeable creasing because of the flap itself. It does causes that creasing. It is quite noticeable because it is on a larger quilting. If you look at the classic quilt, you can barely see the 2 lines. It is quite common to have that because of the flap. It pushes the leather. There are 2 here, but because the quilting it is smaller, it's not that obvious. Whereas this one, because the quilting is bigger, you can see it, it's quite noticeable. The fact that this is in Caviar, it helps, because I'm going to show you this one, which is also a seasonal piece from, I believe it's from the 19K collections. This is, however, in lambskin. See how if it's in lambskin, it is very noticeable. You can definitely see that. Because lambskin is a softer leather and it imprints, it puts pressure and it makes it so obvious. And for someone that has a 19 bag, you will notice that as well. Whereas in Caviar, it is less noticeable. However, it is still quite noticeable if you compare to the smaller quilting one. So that is quite a major difference as well. Another major difference is obviously is the hardware and the strap. If you look carefully, it is outside. So the strap to the hardware is on the outside. Because of that reason, it has a different corners or a different sides. The classic mini, the sides are actually pushes inwards. So you can push it outwards and it just expands a little bit. It does provide that extra room. Whereas the My Perfect Flap Mini, there is no extra room. It is sturdy on the side. You can't adjust and it just makes it a little bit sturdier. However, the sturdy corners or the sturdy side makes it a little bit harder to take items out because it doesn't expand. So it is very rigid. And if you do have a large phone, you might find it a little bit harder to reach out because it is not as flexible. The opening here, especially the corners, are very rigid. It does not expand. So it just makes it a little bit harder to dig into and find smaller items. And the reasons mainly is because of the strap. It has to be put on the side here, and that makes it a little bit harder for Chanel to play around with the side. Whereas the strap here is actually through the top. If you look at the grommets, it is through the top. Just going to show you the major differences again. And I would say that is a con because it is too rigid that it's difficult to get items on the inside. So a very major noticeable difference obviously is the lack of a back pocket. Some people actually love the back pocket when you can use your credit cards or even your transport card or some other items that you can find it easy, parking ticket or any other items that you can just slot in. Whereas here, there is no such convenience. You always have to open it and put it inside. And let's delve into the deeper of the bags itself. It is not leather lining, it is in fabric, whereas the classic mini, it is all leather lining on the interior. So that is another differences. And if you look at the pocket, there are two pockets here. One is a zipper pocket, another one is a front pocket. Whereas the Perfect Mini only has a zipper pocket. There is no front pocket. Another differences is the quilting. I mentioned the size of the quilting is larger. However, if you look on the side, there are no quilts. It's basically a smooth base and sides, whereas the classic has that quilting throughout. So that is one major differences as well. And finally, obviously, is the strap itself. There are two differences with the strap. The first is the size. The Perfect Mini has a very small, thin size. So it looks more like a wallet on chain strap, whereas the Classic Mini Square is a bigger size, which is very similar to a classic flap, classic small, classic medium. They both use the same hardware. So it just makes it a little bit more classic, whereas this one makes it a little bit more seasonal. One of the best advantage, however, is the fact that the strap itself, you can adjust it over here. So this is definitely the bonus of this particular bag, and it's definitely the pro of this Perfect Mini because of the adjustable strap. But because of the fact that the strap and the hook are on the outside, on the corners, if you look carefully, if you hold it like that, it tilts. So when you carry the bag without putting it on your shoulder, you will notice that the bag started to tilt forward. That's because of the hook of the strap. It's on the outside, and it's because of the weight of that. It just puts it a little bit pressure, and the bag moves forward. And that might explain why Chanel chooses to use a thinner, smaller strap instead of that, because of the heaviness of this particular knob to adjust the strap. Whereas on the classic mini square, if you use it that way, it doesn't tilt. Well, it does a little, but it's not very significant. I'm just going to show you. See how the difference is? It just tilts it a little bit more on the Perfect Mini. So those are the major differences, and if you do find any other differences, you can always comment it on the sections below. And once again, thank you so much for watching. And if you do have any other questions, please do so in the sections below, and don't forget to follow my new Instagram.